Hey YouTube, how's it going tonight? So this video I'm going to try to do emergency preparedness. Some of the stuff that I'm going to show, I showed in my prepper tools video. So you might see some of the same things that I showed in that wall. Pretty much a lot is going to be the same, but I'm going to try to talk a little bit more about some of the stuff. One of the things that I did not have in that video was the food storage. So I'm going to start off with about food storage. Well, first off, what do people prepare for? Okay, let's start with that. You want to be prepared for everything, whether it being man-made disasters, natural disasters, and whatnot. A natural disaster, anything from a hurricane to a snowstorm to flooding, earthquake, all in that realm. Okay? So, man-made disasters are anything from terrorism to government corruption. Government does stuff all the time. They're the biggest terrorists. So, food storage. These cans here, this right here is just a piece of my food storage that I got. Number 10 cans are a really good option if you're buying food storage. Number 10 cans, because like I take this lid off, it's still filled. See? These guys have about a 35-year shelf life. So you stock up on them. You got them for at least 35 years, if not more. Alright? So number 10 cans, you can get a number of assortment of food. You can, like that one that I just showed you is cross-cut celery. I got peas, I got potato shreds, I got pancakes. There's a few more that I want to get. They got meatballs, they got, you name it, they got it. So there's none of that, well, I don't want to do food storage because, well, all this emergency food tastes like crap. They got what you like. Okay, they got what you like. Then, this is oatmeal. You get these little plastic jars that you can store food in as well. Like I got oatmeal in this one. And then this one here, I got pasta. So, you take a cardboard box of pasta, drop it in one of these, and now, it's more protected because now it's out of that cardboard box. You're not going to get the water, you're not going to get the bugs in there and whatnot. So, food storage, I recommend, a lot of people recommend this. I say about 6 months minimum of food and water. So, I got a bunch of these on hand. These come from the dollar store. Plastic's not the way to go, but you do what you can. So like $1 per gallon. That's the dollar store. It's not bad. You could probably find them cheaper other places too, but water. Stock up on water. Also get water filtration. Because water filtration you're going to really need too. Because if you got to bug out, you're not going to be able to take all your water with you, but you can take a filtration system with you. And if you got to go up into the mountains, then you can filter the water. Alright? So from that, we got these big buckets. You know, this bucket here's got 275 servings of a bunch of different things. You want to keep your water and your food in a cool, dry location. You don't want it to get too hot. You don't want it to be in a location like in your attic that's going to be like, you know, 2 million degrees, right? Because that'll take your shelf life and cut it down. You know, because the hotter it is, you're going to get moisture. The moisture is going to build. It's going to break down that food. And then when you do need it, you're not going to have it. You want to make sure that you have your emergency supply ready at all times too. So dry location, dry, cool location. You might want to make sure it's cool. You don't want it to get too hot. So now with food, you need to be able to cook it. If the power goes out, if you are in an area that you're running electric stoves, you're not going to be able to cook because your electricity is out. If you have a gas stove, you might be able to cook on a gas stove if your gas is still connected. You know, if it's an earthquake and you got a gas range, chances are your gas is going to be shut off. So with that being said, you're going to want a propane stove. I showed the propane stove in the other video, but the propane stove, and then you can take a small little frying pan like this. This is a nice little cast iron one that I actually just picked this up at a store for $5. Cast iron pan for $5, brand new. Can't go wrong with that, you know. You hook your propane stove up to it, turn it on, and there you go, you can cook. Now with that, the propane stove, now if you're inside your house, if you're bugging in, you want to make sure your windows are open. You want ventilation, because if you're using propane, chances are you could, you know, have some of that propane leak out and, you know, cause carbon monoxide poisoning, and you don't want that. You're trying to survive, right? You're not trying to kill yourself. You're trying to survive. So you want to make sure it's well ventilated. Same thing if you're out in the wilderness and you're going to have this like in a canopy type setting. Like if you got your tent set up and then you got a canopy, like a base kitchen canopy for your group. If you have a group, I recommend having your group. Safety is better in a team. If you got a team, then everybody can take a role. You know, you can have someone, you can have somebody doing the cooking. You can have somebody gathering stuff for the fire. You can have somebody doing security work, you know, checking the perimeter and whatnot. I'll get to that in a little bit. So propane stove, campfire. Also, they do make solar stoves, so there won't be any smoke from fire. They got little cylinder ones that you can put food in, and it'll just radiate from the sun. I don't have any of those yet. I want to get those too. So with that, water. Back to the water. If you're gonna use your house, if you're making your house, you know, your homestead, and you're gonna be bugging in, the one thing that I recommend is you get the 55-gallon drums, and you can fill those with water, and you could stack them. Some are stackable, so you could, you know, do 2, 3, 4, and stack them, and so this way you'll have a ton of water at hand, you know. And if you're doing that with the 55-gallon drums, you want to put a pallet underneath it. If you got, to say, a concrete patio, you still want to put a pallet underneath the drum, because apparently from what I was told that the concrete could damage the plastic a little bit. It won't affect the water, your drinking water, but it's recommended to put a pallet underneath your drum. Now on to that. If you are bugging in, the preferred choice is to bug in because you know your home. You know everything around, you know where everything is. Okay. If you can bug in, bug in. Then work with what you got in your house. Use your house and know all the security features. Know your weak spots of the house. And then work on that. Okay? If you're gonna stay bugged in, I recommend putting like a security system in. I'm not talking about the ones that are hooked up to 911, because chances are, if it's a where you have to bug in or bug out scenario and you need assistance may not come. 911 is going to be, you're going to be trying to call them and they're going to be a beep, 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 busy tone, because everybody else that's not prepared is going to be calling them because they're going to be needing all this assistance, right? So, with that being said, safety. You want to be able to protect your house. Now, one of the things, I showed this in the other video, but a simple solution to safety would be the expandable baton. Depending where you live and legality wise, right? But this here will do damage. Won't kill them, but it'll definitely hurt them, right? So still depends on what area you're living in. If you're living in a Democratic area, I'm sorry, but you're SOL. If you're living in a Democratic area, I suggest moving out while you can, because they're going to make it so hard for you to do any form of self-defense. I know there are states out there that are full Democratic. This is illegal. BB guns you can't even have in certain states because, you know, it is what it is, right? So that's one form of self-defense. Another form of self-defense, and I carry the black powder revolver. So that's this guy here. Now, the way you load a black powder revolver, so it's not like a modern gun where you can just, you know, boom, bullet, 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 and, you know, and just bam, 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 go, right? The black powder needs okay, first thing black powder needs is powder. This here is pistol pellets. It's black powder. Well, it's the black powder equivalent, and this is made by a company made by Pyrodex. They're pistol pellets. So with the pellets, you do, sometimes the caps will go off, but it won't send the charge off. So with that, just pop out the cap, put a new cap on, and you should be good to go, right? So basically, you got your powder. Then you got your lead ball. And then you want to do a bullet lube. So the bullet lube is so that you don't get a chain fire. So the way it works is you put the powder in. Well, first, put the gun to half cock, put your powder in, bring it down here, and then you take this bar right here and you ram that in there, you push it in, and then when you pull up on it, a little piece of metal will, a shaving from the ball will come off. That's normal. So you do that all the way around. If you're going to carry this type of weapon, you only want to load 5 rounds. You don't want to load all 6. Because if you load all 6, you're out, you know. Carrying it, you know, you accidentally hit the hammer, it could accidentally push into that charge, creating a accidental discharge. So it's called the cowboy load. You do 5 ones and you rest the hammer on an empty chamber. So the last step in loading one of those is this. It's the caps. The hammer hits the cap creates a fire charge that goes into the powder, sets the powder off. When the powder gets set off, it sets the ball off, and there you go. So that's the firearm that I have. I do have a rifle. I showed you the rifle and the pellet rifle in the previous video. The bullets for the rifle that I have right now are these guys. And that's 50 caliber. Same thing with loading the rifle. You put the powder in, and then with that you need to put a patch between the powder and the bullet, and then you ram it in there nice and tight, and then at the end you take you break the barrel open, and then you put a 209 primer in there, and then you close the barrel, and then you're ready to go. Some of the safety features in prepping, if you're bugging out, I recommend getting one of these. Kevlar vest. Even if you're bugging in, if we get to the point in this country where we are seeing civil unrest and more violence in the streets, you don't want to leave the house without one of these, because you just never know. So this is what the vest will look like on. See, you got side protection here.